guys, sorry.
Okay, we continued.
I love that. I love it.
Sadie continued in your spot.
Hooray. I love that. Students teaching students. That's how you guys learn. That's the last leg in the learning triangle. The learning stool. Teaching. Cool. So let's say we started out with one of each, right? So this would be my number of cations, my number of anions, right? And then these are the charges of each one. That would give me a total of, -3, -2, right? So that's not 0. Hopefully you guys are all comfortable with that. So because it's negative, I'm thinking, which one of these do I have to add more of? Cation or anion?
Cation.
Cation, right? If I have negative charges left over, it means that I need to add more of the cations, right? Does that make sense? Yep. Specifically, I need 2 more of them, right? So if I have 3 total, that'll give me my 0 charge, which is what I want, right? So as you go through and you're doing these, you'll start to be able to see these kinds of patterns. But I think just as you're starting out, it's much easier. Just do the math, right? Just plug away until you get where you're trying to go.
Professor, is that a 3 underneath the record button on your phone?
Boop. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then this number would go there, right? This number would go there. And they would end up being your coefficients. Everybody comfortable with that? Let's do one more. Can I erase? Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do B. Oops. Sorry. So, these ones, we have calcium 2+, oxygen -2, or oxide. So how many of each do we need to make a neutral compound?
One of each.
One of each.
One of each. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
So if I have 1 calcium and 1 oxide, right? That'll give me a net charge of 0. So I need 1 cation, 1 anion, and what's my chemical formula going to be?
CaO.
CaO.
Okay.
Everybody alright with that?
You said we're not going to be using any polyatomic ions for this
That's correct.
exam, right?
Yeah. So, no. Right? Oops, sorry. So no polyatomic ions for this exam. You will see them in the second exam, okay? Nomenclature is such a beast, and there's so much to learn about it that I personally think splitting it up over 2 tests is the best way to do it, because that way we're starting off our next chapter with, finishing up and learning the rest of the nomenclature. So you have lots of time to digest that lots of time to memorize your polyatomic ions, which you're going to need to memorize, right? And lots of time to practice with them, right? So that hopefully you don't have to have just rote memorization, that it will be like processed in terms of doing problems. Okay. And we didn't get a chance to go through any conversions, but I feel like we really did like 1,000 million videos on this. So if you all are still struggling with DA, definitely there's a lot of resources to go back through. We have a couple of workshops, right? You have the dimensional analysis quiz, which you can go back and do the practice version of. There's a lot there. So I don't want to overwhelm you and do any more of that right now, because I think a lot of you are probably focused on this part of what's coming at you on the exam, and that's good, right? So, because I think that's where you should be at. Any other questions? Any other problems on the practice exam that you want me to go through really quickly?
Professor, which lecture video did you do the word problem dimensional analysis?
So there's a couple of workshops, and then the dimensional analysis introduction would be another one. So you're always going to be looking in chapter 1,
Okay.
the module 1, and then the places to look would be the Zoom for chapter 1, right? So that's the 1.5. And then I think after the 1.5, there's 2 workshops with some more practice problems. Okay, and those are both videoed. Oh, and then we also went over the quiz, the dimensional analysis quiz. I put that video under one of the workshops for DA. Okay, so that's also available to you.
Professor,
Yeah.
do you know kind of like an average of how many questions you're looking at for the exam, or has that already been asked? I'm sorry. So.
It has, but that's fine. So I would say no more than 25. That's like a maximum. And in terms of the number of like DA style problems, like mathy problems, no more than 5. So I'd say
Okay.
2 word problems max and 2 conversions maxed.
Yeah.
So, because y'all have 80 minutes to finish this,
Yeah.
so I want to make sure that if you're somebody that takes a long time with doing problem solving, and I think that's pretty natural, right? That you would ideally have like 7 minutes per DA question, right? Something along that lines. So not everybody's going to need that much, right? Some of you guys might be like, I know this stuff, right? But I want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable.
Thank you, Professor. I'm going to log off.
All right.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank you, Professor.